Hey, we want to welcome you back to another episode of the 938 podcast, and excited to be here. My name is Craig Stevenson, and I'm an associate mission director here with the BBFI Mission Office in Springfield, Missouri. And as we kind of kick things off today, I want to encourage you to go click subscribe and then like and share this video, this podcast on all your social media channels, and we would greatly appreciate that as we are working to build an audience for the 938 podcast. And so today we have with us a very special guest named Tyler Carleton.
Hello.
And Tyler, man, it's great to have you.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here, Craig.
I can tell, man. It's good. It's good to have you. So Tyler, you good friends, I would say.
Acquaintances at least.
Something like that.
At the very least, yeah.
Well, I tell you what, it's great to have you. And man, I've been praying for you. I know you're getting ready to go to the country of
Nicaragua.
Nicaragua,
yes.
That's right. So we have Tyler Carleton, missionary to BBFI Missionary to Nicaragua. So
career BBFI missionary. To Nicaragua.
So talk to me. So you and I have known each other now for a little while.
Yeah. 4 years, something like that.
4 or 5 years, something like that. So tell me what it's like for you to hear that phrase, BBFI career missionary to Nicaragua.
It is weird because it felt like every step of my life was like just like something else that I had to get through to get to this point. Yeah. And so then you reach the point and then it's like, what do I do?
What do I do? Yeah,
what do I
next?
do with this now?
Sure.
Now that I feel as though I have reached the pinnacle of my life.
Well,
everything that I've been working towards, and now we're here.
So well, for me, it's kind of cool because I got to see you in college, right?
Mm-hmm. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, well, me too. So that's why it's cool to see how far you've come, but to see where you started in college and kind of see what that process looked like for you. And then obviously you're on staff at Parkcrest. Tell us a little bit about, I'll tell you what, give us a little background on you. Tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about what you've been doing at Parkcrest, and then we'll kind of go from there.
Sure. I'm the coolest person you'll ever meet. I think that just more or less sums it up. I'll go into more detail if you want, Craig, but
sure.
Cool.
We can save that later.
Yeah, sweet. Born and raised in Springfield, Missouri. I'm one of the few, I feel like, that went to BBC that's actually like from Springfield.
Yeah, sure.
Born and raised in this area, have been at Parkcrest my entire life.
Yeah.
That's where I just learned this love for missions and for God and serving Him, and I've been getting to do that. I was saved when I was 16, started serving in kids ministry a little even before that. They shouldn't have let me, but here we are. They made it. And so started serving in kids ministry a little bit before that, and just knew that I needed to do missions. I'd known that since even I was in middle school, that I was just wanted to do missions, and got to school, did my, went to BBC, got a degree in intercultural studies, pushed my way through, and I get to serve. I've been serving for the past almost 4 years now as the children's pastor at Parkcrest. Just have a heart for reaching kids and teaching them about Jesus and how they can serve Him, and want to do that on the mission field. And
man, it's great to have you on here and to kind of talk through some of this stuff because, I obviously I've known you from Parkcrest, and you've done an incredible job with the children's ministry there, and it's been really cool to see you grow into those roles that you've been working in, and what God's used you to do there in the lives of the kids, and not just the kids that are in there, but also the workers. I know you made a major impact on the life of my kids, and as they serve and have been a part of the ministry and stuff. And so it's been great to see that. But you mentioned that you knew you wanted to do missions back in junior high, in middle school. So walk me through that. So how did you know? What did that look like for you?
So I had the privilege. Parkcrest is a missions church. Like that is, the hallmark, I think, of just Parkcrest Baptist Church in general ministry is missions. And so I had the privilege of growing up in that. And not only did I grow up in that, but I got to be around missionaries all the time. Specifically, my family had a really good friend in BBFI Missionary, Shelly Henderson. Shelly passed away a few years ago, but she was just a huge inspiration for me. I love Shelly. She was everything I wanted to do in life. I was like, I just want to do what Shelly does, because she looked like she had the best time in the world, and everything she did, I was like, I want to do that. I just want to be there. And I remember being at camp in middle school. Again, not saved yet, so don't,
No, I get you.
And I just had this like realization that I was like, I think I need to, I think I'm supposed to do something like that. And I couldn't put a finger on it, couldn't tell you. I just kind of was sitting there, and wasn't even during like an invitation time or anything. I just was sitting there. I was like, I really need to do missions. And so I remember walking up to my youth pastor at the time, and I just said, I think I want to be a missionary. And then I turned around and sat down because I didn't know, this is a 13-year-old who's like, I don't know what these words mean, but I feel like I'm supposed to tell somebody about it.
Yeah.
And yeah, so he kind of pulled me back and was like, "Do you know what that means?" And I was like, "Not really."
Yeah, you can't just drop a bomb on me like that and then go turn around and sit down.
Turn around and sit down. And I was like, I don't really know what that means, but I would like to figure it out. And so, like I said, I actually didn't even get saved until I was 16. I was went through high school, kind of struggled with that decision that I was supposed to do missions, and I didn't really know what that meant. I mean, obviously, I hadn't even figured out my own, eternity. I hadn't even figured out my own spiritual, understanding, and I was kind of struggling with those things, really falling into sin. And at 16, I just finally made a decision that I was like, I don't think I've ever done this myself. I talk about missions and wanting to do these things, but I don't think I've personally ever made a decision to follow Jesus. And so grabbed my youth pastor again, different guy, and went into a nursery at this church we were at, and we were on like a missions trip, and sat him down at midnight and said, just kind of poured it out. And so I was saved that night, and he pulled me into his office the next week and said, "Hey, you've always said you want to do missions, and we've figured out the most important part now. So is that still what you want to do?"
What does that look like? Yeah.
And so he just kind of walked me through step by step, discipled me, and said, this is what that would look like. This is how we're going to start that. And so big shout out to John Decker, if you're listening to this, So John kind of just walked me through step by step on just even how to even start. I mean, how do you tell a 16-year-old how do you tell a 13-year-old, let alone,
I love that. And of course we love John. John, Mandy Decker, they just doing a great job out in Ohio at their church there.
The best.
And, I hated to see them move, but
same.
But, yeah, for sure. But it's really cool to hear about a youth pastor that hears that a student tells them, "Hey, I want to be a missionary," and kind of walk through that process with them. Because I know a lot of youth pastors that if someone comes and says, "Hey, I want to be a missionary," it's like, awesome. Let me tell you about BBC.
Right.
So what do you tell them that's next? And so the fact that John was able to go through and say, "Hey, let's talk about these next steps. What does this process look like?" Yeah. Major shout out to him for that. And if you're a youth pastor, some of the things that we talk about is, if someone comes to you and they're talking to you about wanting to be a missionary, it's like, okay, that's awesome. Let's keep that on the radar. But let's go back and let's talk about, are you reading your Bible?
Yeah.
Are you giving? Are you serving?
Are you sharing your faith
right
now?
Are you sharing your faith right now?
Are you doing all those things that come with being a missionary on the mission field, but that you should be doing now as a...
Yeah, because a switch is not magically going to flip later one day when you get done with college.
Exactly.
So how can you build in those different disciplines into your life now while following that path? And so that's really cool that you're able to sit here today and talk about youth pastors impacting your life in that way. So that's really cool. Yeah. So you obviously going from there, you get saved in high school, stay on the path to be a missionary. You make it to college. You're at BBC.
I made it somehow, some way.
You made it, and you graduated.
I did. I graduated
from BBC, which is great. So
who would have thought?
There are some parts of being a missionary that people don't always think about. And so I know you and I have talked about like student loans and different things going through college and what does that look like? So I know your student loan situation coming out. Walk us through kind of how you handled college, your classes, and then walk us through kind of how you set yourself up to be able to take that next step without any kind of really a delay.
Yeah. Like Craig's saying, luckily when I graduated college, I was nowhere near like the national average for what people leave college with now, which truly makes me want to throw up thinking about about being that much in debt is literally like the scariest thought in the entire world. And so luckily I wasn't near that. But I truly think it's because, my parents, when I turned 16, I had a week to find a job. They were like, "We will pay for one tank of gas for you, and then you're on your own."
Yeah, sure.
And I had a week to find a job. I do not think there has been a single day, and I got a job. I got 2 jobs 2 days after I turned 16.
Yeah.
I do not think there's been a single day since then that I have not had a
job.
a regular steady job.
Yeah, that's good.
And even through college, I was full-time student, serving, doing all these things, but I still had to. Every day almost went in and worked and, tried to live on as little as I could because I mean, it's pretty rough every month when you have to walk in and wipe your bank account out basically because you've got to pay your next installment. Right. I did have some student loans, so I'm not, I wasn't incredible to say, but I just paid a lot of my own money and said, I'm going to make it through this. And I in the whole time I'm going through college in my mind is I'm trying to get to the mission field as fast as possible. Sure. And I was trying to do anything and everything I could to keep myself from having any other like barrier that would stop that. Like I wanted to be as quick and as fast as possible. And so I said, I'm missing out on a lot of the, my dad's not a pastor. I didn't get a scholarship for that. I don't get a lot of those. So I just said, I've got to buckle down and get as much as I can.
Well, and I love that because you talk about, you really kept your eyes on the end goal, and that's what motivated you, and that's what drove you through college.
Yes, absolutely.
And to work while doing that, not just taking loans to go on vacation or whatever, and you know how things go. But so major props to you for that, because number one, that showed a lot of discipline, and it showed a lot of character. I think just walking through that process. And I think there's a lot to be said for people that do everything that they can to put themselves in a position for God to use them as quickly as possible as well. And so I know you and I started talking about what the process looks like through that process of you becoming a missionary and walking through that process, and the fact that you were able to do that so soon out of college because of where you were at with everything. Is just really cool. So now you find yourself on the road, making your way to Nicaragua. So walk us through, how did you come to the determination that Nicaragua was the place that you were supposed to be?
Yeah, that was kind of an accumulation of things.
Okay.
I wouldn't say that, and not to say this doesn't happen to people, but I was not one of those people that like woke up in a cold sweat in the middle of the night and I was like, Nicaragua, it's not like I had some like
vision of the man from Nicaragua.
I didn't have like a prophetic vision that was Tyler, nothing like that. But man, going through high school, even back through middle school and college, I just had this love for Spanish, learning Spanish, and learning about Latin America, being involved in those cultures, and just really, really grew to love it. Even, before I went to BBC, I went to Missouri State for a year and majored in Spanish.
Wow.
And just like, I had this just love for learning Spanish and learning it, and I just liked the culture. And so kind of going through that, like I said, I got saved when I was 16. When I was 18, I was like, man, I've never been, I've been out of the country on vacation and stuff like that, but I've never been on a missions trip, and I really want to do that. I'd been kind of national, like locally in America, but wanted to go somewhere. And so lo and behold, like a week later, Parkcrest announced, hey, we're going to Nicaragua this summer if you want to go. And it happened to be like a week after I graduated high school. Cool. And I was like, man, I really want to go on this trip. What do I do? And so kind of just scraped together $3,000 because, again, as an 18-year-old, how do you have the money?
Who's working two jobs and going to school and prepping for college?
Exactly.
Yeah, sure.
So I somehow scraped that money together and got to go. And the whole time I'm sitting there thinking like, I'm so excited. I want to experience this. Like, I'm interested in like Central America, South America. I want to know this. Didn't know this, but behind the scenes, I had people communicating with the missionary in Nicaragua that we're going to work with, Brian Weed. And so people had been texting Brian that knew him and said, hey, this guy Tyler, like you really got to talk to him. Yeah, nice. You got to talk to him when he gets there. Like Tyler's really interested in doing missions in this area. Like, he would do really good. Talk to him, whatever. So get to Nicaragua, and I just thought I was like this cool kid that Brian was like, like I want to talk, but so come to find out he had ulterior motives.
Well, come to find out you weren't the cool kid.
Right. I've never been the cool kid in my life. So like, why would I think that? No,
that's good.
And so Brian just spent like night after night after night on that trip. Staying up at like late into the mornings, like 2, 3 in the morning, just talking to me about what do you want to do? What is, how, like, have you thought about missions? How, like, what would you do on the mission field? What do what do you like to do? And just talking me through, like, what does it even look like? Because again, I mean, I'm 18 and I still have no idea. Sure. You don't know as an 18-year-old what the next 5 years are going to look like. And you don't know any of that stuff. You don't, let alone somebody tell you you're going to be a missionary. Like,
that's
you
right.
Can't even imagine what that life is. And so Brian was the first person that actually, John kind of discipled me in the way that told me how to like be a mature Christian capable of doing missions. Yeah. Brian taught me how to be a missionary. And so Brian just kind of brought me along and, like started that week and have had a really close relationship with Brian ever since. But I left there just knowing that I needed to be in Nicaragua and have luckily been able to go around the world still doing other, working with kids all around the Middle East and the Philippines and even like England and Wales and Guatemala, just tons of other countries. And every time I just found myself just longing for Nicaragua.
Coming back to Nicaragua.
And just wanted to. And
that's really cool.
I just knew that was where he needed me to be. And like I said, I didn't wake up one night and just have this realization. It was just,
well, and I love it because every story is different.
Right.
Every story is different, but inevitably what we hear is, God called me when I was on a mission trip.
Yeah.
or I knew when I heard from this missionary, or it's amazing to see how God works through missionaries that are coming through our churches on a regular basis and promoting missions and talking about the Great Commission and everything that God's commanded us to do. And then, but to take that next step and go visit a missionary in the field, it's really cool to see how God works in those ways when we are out of our normal comfort zone, our normal routine, our normal, I'll say, influences and things in our lives, to where we can really focus not just on what we're there to do, but we can also see more, how's God working in other countries,
right?
And then to see kind of what that even looks like in our life back home, because it's a completely different culture. Yeah, it's a completely different experience just across the board, and so it's really cool to see how that worked out in your life. Hey, listen, if you're just joining us, I want to introduce you to Tyler Carleton. So Tyler is with us, BBFI Career Missionary to Nicaragua, and really proud of him and excited to have him on the podcast today. And if you're just jumping on, again, want to encourage you to go click subscribe and stay up to date on all these future episodes of the 938 podcast every Tuesday morning, 10 o'clock Central Time, right here on YouTube. And so let's move on. Let's talk about the work. Right, sure. You're getting ready to go to the field, right? So you're going through the deputation process.
I am.
So Tyler is still booking churches and things. So I want to encourage you to
please
let Tyler come and share his heart for Nicaragua, and then also take him on for support, which I know he would appreciate as well.
I would really love it. So
which is good. So, but I know the target date is December.
Yeah,
right?
Shooting for the end of the year.
I know you've told people for a long time, hey, I'm just praying that 2021 is the year that I get to go. So, so we're praying for you on that. So, what does that look like when you get there? So, obviously, you're connected to Brian Weed. I know there's other missionaries there. Give us a view of what this is going to look like when you hit the ground. Who are you going to work with? What all is involved with the ministry there that's going on now? And then how are you going to step in and work once you get in?
Sure, yeah. Well, thank goodness that when I get to Nicaragua, I am not the only one there. Yeah. That's a scary proposition that you would just drop Tyler Carleton into a country. And
I think that's scary for the country of Nicaragua. I will say that.
It's scary. So thank goodness there are some very wise, smart missionaries there that I get to work alongside. Wade and Shannon Cooperrider and Max and Jennifer Kennedy are there currently. I'm really excited to work with them, just have a good friendship with them already. Along with that, we have some more missionaries on their way to Nicaragua right now, so we just get to form this whole group. But we're the Familia Avance network in Nicaragua, and so right now they are a church planting machine, and so planted somewhere, I want to say 14, 15 churches so far in the past 20 years, and just they are working their butts off, and recruiting people, bringing people, discipling them, helping them be a part of what God's doing in Nicaragua. And so I want to go, and specifically I at least to begin with, hopefully this, develops and grows as I get more comfortable in the mission field.
Sure.
Want to work with kids. Like I said, that's my passion here in the States. That's just what I've always loved to do. I've worked with kids for about 10 years now, a little over 10 years. And so just love working with kids and getting to share Jesus with them. And so in Nicaragua, it's a country that is 1/3 under the age of 14. So 1/3 of the population of Nicaragua is under the age of 14. Just a very, very young country, a little over 6 million total, about 2 million under the age of 14. And so it's a super young country that I just think that we have a perfect opportunity to reach them right now. On top of that, Nicaragua does not have a large older population. And so Nicaragua is just very led by the younger generations. And I think that we have a chance right now to strike for Jesus, in the heart of this country and reach these kids now and help them grow to be discipled, mature believers who can influence the future of that country.
Man, that's awesome.
And so I want to do that. I want to use that not only as an opportunity in the churches that are already established, helping them grow children's ministries, reach new people that way, but use it as a way to plant new churches. So starting kids ministries in places that don't have anything going on, using that as a way to invite families and grow it from there. And so just want to focus in on kids. I truly have firmly believed the entire time I've been in ministry, if you reach kids, you're going to reach their whole family, because parents will put up with a lot if their kid is happy. And so they will put up with any amount of stress and trouble if their kid is happy and excited to do something. So,
and if you do something for their kid, it opens the door. And it's just really great to see how God can use that just across the board in the life of a family. So, okay, so you have a really cool opportunity right now. Okay, so I want you to look into this camera right over here, and I want you to tell whoever's watching on the other side of that why they should be a missionary to Nicaragua.
why you should be a missionary in Nicaragua, I think I just laid it out. There are 2 million kids that are waiting to hear about Jesus. And I don't know if you know this, I'm not capable of reaching 2 million kids on my own. So I would really, really appreciate if there were more people there that were trying to reach these 2 million kids. I'm going to keep saying the number 2 million because I want you to understand that I am one person and there are 2 million of those persons that need to know about Jesus. And truly, if we can reach those 2 million kids right now, 2 million, I said the word million really weird just now, but 2 million kids right now, we are setting up Nicaragua for long-term success. I think if we reach them now, we are fixing their families. We are fixing future families. We are raising up the future leaders of the country who are going to make those decisions, who are going to be the ones that push forward in the future without us. And it starts by reaching them now. And we've got to reach them, and we've got to do it fast.
Well, great job on that one. So I know I put you on the spot for that, but I tell you what, if you're watching and you're praying about where God could use you, and I tell you, Nicaragua could use missionaries to go help reach these kids and these families. It's really great to see what God's doing down there, and looking forward to seeing how God uses you once you get down there. And you need to know that we're all praying for you. Our office is behind you. The churches are behind you. And we're praying that God will use you in a great way down there. You know, this year we're doing something called Project 938. It's all centered back around this idea of the 938 challenge that John Connerup developed here a while back. After Matthew 9:38, pray to the Lord of the harvest, he'd send forth more laborers into the harvest. And it's a prayer request from Jesus. And so this whole year, we're praying as an office, we're praying as churches that God would continue to call more people. And so the challenge, if you're watching today, if you haven't heard about this yet, the challenge is to set your alarm on your phone for 9:38 in the morning and or 9:38 at night. And when it goes off, just simply say, hey, God, I want to pray and ask you to send more people, and that people would be willing to surrender to the call of God on their life to go to the mission field. And our prayer through this whole process is that God would call, people would answer, and more people could go to places like Nicaragua and every other country in the world, just all over the place, and see more churches started, see more people come to know Christ as their Savior. So the question is, what part is God calling you to play? If you're watching today, is God calling you to take part like he's asked Tyler to, like he's called Tyler to surrender his life and go to the mission field, go to Nicaragua? If so, are you willing to say yes? And if not, I think you need to rethink that just a little bit, right?
Yes,
you know, I think that would be maybe a good way to say that.
Yeah.
So, but across
wrong.
the board, we want to ask you to join us in prayer. Next, here coming up in October 3rd is our 938 Sunday. So all year we have this Project 938 that's going on, centered around the 938 challenge. And then on October 3rd, it's the first Sunday of October, all of the churches of the BBFI stateside and over 20,000 churches outside the U.S. have the opportunity to be involved in this as well. We're all going to come together on one day to pray that God would call people out of our churches and get them to the mission field so more people could come to know Christ as Savior. So, Tyler, thank you for being involved in this process. Thank you for having a heart for the children in Nicaragua and the families. And we're praying for you. We are completely behind you. And hoping the best and praying that God will use you in a really mighty way as you wrap up deputation, first of all, and then you get to where you get to head out and make it to Nicaragua. So, hey, listen, again, I want to appreciate, really want to say thank you for joining us today, the 938 podcast. Click subscribe before you click off of here today, and stay up to date on all these future episodes. And we would greatly appreciate it. Tyler, thanks for being here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We will. Oh yeah, and show him your shirt. Oh, he's rocking our new BBFI Missions T-shirts that are available on our store.bbfimissions.com. So go check those out.
Soft and lightweight,
which is always a good thing.
You can't miss out.
You can't beat that. Soft and lightweight. It's summertime, and it'll be nice and cool in the summertime, which is good. So
soft and lightweight, two words that I wish people would use to describe me.
Nice. I don't even know what to say to that. I really don't even know what to say, other than if you want one of these shirts that's soft and lightweight, store.bbfimissions.com. And we hope to see you next week on the 938 podcast.